Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Craig. And my next guest is Erin Carlson Mast. And Erin is the director of President Lincoln's Cottage. And if you've never been there, please go check it out. It is just a wonderful place. I was wowed by Scott's tour, wowed by the grounds, wowed by everyone there, and wowed by you. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Pia. I'm so happy to be here.
I loved it. I can't say enough about it.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Let's jump right in so the people out there can learn more about it. What is President Lincoln's Cottage?
President Lincoln's Cottage is Lincoln's seasonal retreat. This is where he lived for a quarter of his presidency, from about June through November of 1862, 63, and 64. So he was living there while he was making some very important decisions about the Civil War and developing the Emancipation Proclamation. And we're a National Trust Historic Site, which is a private nonprofit here in Washington, D.C., and we're located on the grounds of the Armed Forces Retirement Home in Northwest Washington, and we are now open to the public as of 2 years ago.
Excellent. And when are the tours?
The tours are, they're scheduled throughout the day, so we do encourage people to make reservations in advance if they'd like, but they can also walk up or give us a call that day to see what's available. They are small, guided tours. We try to keep it small so that people get a good experience rather than feeling like they're being herded through.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about the website. Do people go online to sign up?
You can do that. Our website's www.lincolncottage.org, and you can pre-register for a tour that way, and you can also just read more about us, find out a little more about what you get to see while you're at President Lincoln's Cottage.
Yeah, it's a great website, too. Check out the press part. Excellent.
Thank you.
And phone number, young lady?
202-829-0436.
Excellent. And now you brought some pictures along.
I did.
Of
we
Lincoln
Cottage.
Yeah, let's take a look. What are we looking at?
So this is the exterior of President Lincoln's Cottage from the south side, and this is the side that's the most historically photographed. So this side faces downtown Washington, D.C. We're on the third highest area of Washington. So while Lincoln was out here, you can imagine him standing on that veranda and seeing a view of the entire city spread out before him, including the unfinished Capitol Dome, which he saw as, he really wanted to see construction on that dome continue because he saw it as a symbol for the Union continuing.
And who else lived there?
Well, we know that President Buchanan lived on the grounds of the Soldiers' Home before Lincoln, and we actually think he's the one that tipped Lincoln off to the place. But we believe he lived in an adjacent building. But actually, Presidents Hayes and Arthur also lived in the cottage during their presidencies. So it truly is, some people refer to it as the first presidential retreat or as Lincoln's Civil War Camp David.
Excellent. And look at that beautiful picture. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the
shot.
library at the cottage. And, we know there's so many wonderful stories from people who lived and worked with Lincoln at the cottage about him reading Shakespeare, Richard III, poring over
that looks like a Richard III room.
Doesn't it look? Can't you just imagine Lincoln reading aloud from Shakespeare in that location? So.
Dost thou see it?
Yeah.
And I know we have another picture also coming up.
And this is the inside of our Robert H. Smith Visitor Education Center, which is adjacent to the cottage.
That
arch. Isn't that a beautiful arch? And you can see the huge mural we have above that. But there are plenty of exhibits in that space. And so you can come, you can grab a beverage to relax. We have a museum store, we have some interactive exhibits, and we have a special exhibit gallery as well.
And you also sell Lincoln's beards for the kids, and I think that was just so
we
funny.
Have Lincoln's hat, Lincoln's beards, we have
Lincoln logs.
Lincoln logs. We have a great selection of books, some of which are signed by the author.
I got one. So.
Excellent.
Yay.
Great.
And tell me about the Soldiers' Home.
The Soldiers' Home, as it was called in Lincoln's time, or the Armed Forces Retirement Home today, it was founded in 1851. The cottage itself was originally built for George Washington Riggs of Riggs Bank, and he sold the property to the federal government in 1851 because they were interested in founding a home for retired and disabled soldiers. And this was really pushed for by three men in particular, General Winfield Scott, who had set aside some war booty from the Mexican-American War to found the home, Major Robert Anderson of Fort Sumter fame, and Jefferson Davis, who was a senator at the time. Davis sponsored the bill, and so he essentially inadvertently is responsible for creating the place that became Lincoln's seasonal retreat during the Civil War.
That's great. And tell me about, it also has a cemetery there. Is that the original Arlington Cemetery?
There is a cemetery that is adjacent to the property. It is about 200 yards from the front door of the cottage, and it is the first national cemetery. It's the predecessor of Arlington. There were Civil War burials there from 1861 to 1864, and burials there essentially stopped when Arlington opened. So there were about 8,000 Civil War soldiers buried there in plain view of Lincoln's seasonal retreat.
And last second words. We're getting the wrap-up. Give us one more sentence.
We hope that everyone has a chance to come out to President Lincoln's Cottage. Not only is it a great way to learn more about Lincoln's presidency, but also a little bit more about Washington, D.C. history.
Excellent. Erin, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pia.
You are absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
And please check out Lincoln Cottage.